Hi there, thanks for joining. A viewer asked me what glazing is. Glazing is a technique of applying a very transparent thin layer of paint on top of a previous dried paint layer. And with that transparent layer you can alter the colors that were already there. So you can make colors warmer or cooler, for instance, or just swing it in another direction, or you can enhance some contrasts a little bit more. You can also use glazing to give your painting a more uniform look. Now that we know what it is, how do you do this? First off, whenever you can, choose colors that are transparent or semi-transparent, because with an opaque color, of course, it gets more difficult to make a transparent layer. Of course, you can use water to dilute the paint, but that often isn't the best choice. First off, the paint will start running off your canvas. The pigments will behave in an uncontrolled way because they float in the water, so you get unpredicted results. You also dilute the glue. The binder in the acrylic is a kind of a glue that keeps the pigments together, and that glues the pigments to your canvas. So if you dilute it too much with water, then your paint will come off when dry. So a safe way to make great transparent layers is to use glazing mediums. Often these glazing mediums make your paint a little bit more fluid as well, but they increase the transparency. You can also use regular medium. Regular medium often is a little bit thicker than glazing medium. And then a last thing to make a beautiful transparent layer, a nice soft transparent layer, it's easiest to use a soft brush. Now, of course, I want to show you an example. I have an old color study here of waves. And I'm gonna alter it a little bit with color, so we can play with it. Everyone has his own style and approach with this. Sometimes artists have little jars or containers, and then they put the glazing medium in the container and they add a little bit of paint. I just throw it on my palette, and don't be concerned, now it has a milky color, but this will dry completely transparent. So let's, for instance, say I want to do a little bit of a magenta extra layer on top of this. And magenta is a transparent pigment. Where is it? Oh, couldn't be farther away, of course, that's always the case. Here you see with this brand they indicated with this square. An open square means it's it's a very transparent pigment. And so this is a useful pigment for glazing. Now, if for instance you want to use a specific pigment that is very opaque, then that's no problem at all. Then you have to add just a little bit more glazing medium. I grab a soft brush, as said before. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this magenta and I mix it through the medium. So you see it gets pink, of course. Okay, and now I'm gonna put it on top of this piece of paper to see how transparent it actually is. And you see it is quite transparent, but still it's not as transparent as I would like it to be. So I'll grab more paint. You can of course, like always, you can also mix with a palette knife. Would have been easier because then it's easier to mix a big pile of paint. I think I'll go for this and just try to cover it. You see what happens? It looks a bit strange at first, don't mind. I'm not quite sure if the camera will pick it up, that's good. And if I say, okay, I want to add a little bit more magenta to make the effect a little bit stronger, I can add more. But you see that it slightly changes the look of the painting. So this part I haven't covered, now I will cover it. You see, it makes a difference. It makes difference everywhere. And in a way it will unite all the colors together. Now I've altered the complete picture. But now the fun part. I take a piece of cloth and I can wipe off the glazing layer at some parts. Just at some parts. Here, for instance, the white parts here. I just had the lightest parts. Maybe I wipe it off there a little bit, because remember what I said? Sometimes it can be too much a little bit, of course. So, you see? And it's just a matter of taste, what you would like to do, but now you see that there are some variations. Maybe I just want the foreground a little bit less magenta as well, and you can go all the way to the canvas to recover the previous color completely. But now you see that at some spots you have that magenta feel and at some spots you don't. And maybe I want to do it here as well a little bit, and here. And I really have no idea what I'm doing here. I just took this as a test canvas, but you see it works. Of course, you can also add more glazing layers. So I can add a next layer, but then I first have to wait till it's dry. But I speed up the process with the hair dryer. Chung chung chung. There we go. This time I take a little bit of yellow. This yellow is semi-opaque. So I need to add slightly more of the glazing medium. Where is my palette knife? This time I'm gonna mix with the palette knife. I'll add a slight touch of yellow to this medium. And I don't bother that there's already magenta in it, because with the magenta it will become a little bit orangey. And you see, just a color like this, I don't care that much. It's just an example. And now let's take a look. How transparent is this? It's quite transparent, okay. You see, by the way, how the pigments stick together. If I was to do this with water, so here is the same kind of mixture, a little bit orange. So, and if I would use a lot of water like this, then you see that the pigments start behaving very weird. They don't stick together anymore. They go swimming in the water. And it goes dripping down the palette and your canvas as well, of course. So this is a way better option. So there we go again. I dip the brush in it. Maybe it's fun, maybe it isn't. We'll see. But on the waves, I guess, it will become funny. Because now I get... you see here what happens? Oh, sorry. There's a lot of noises outside. But you see what happens now? You get some spots where I had left the white open, you see? Now it becomes a little bit more yellow. So now all these layers start working together. And it's a very nice optical effect. If you see it in reality, I don't know how well you can see that on camera. But you see that this in a museum, when you look at a piece of art, or in a gallery, that's where the artist has used the glazing technique. Yeah, then you can see it very clearly. I can exaggerate it a little bit more with a little bit more magenta and a little bit more yellow to make a more orangey kind of color and make that slightly less transparent. So I use slightly less medium, you see, like this here. Why not at some spots? It's also nice to do it a little bit on accident, so to speak, so we can always clean it a little bit again with the rag. So, you see? Now we have some spectacular things going on here. In the sky maybe a little bit more, so like this. Now again, I'm gonna use a towel. And I want to bring the sky back a little bit, so. And I can do this now because the previous layer was completely dry. I did it with a hairdryer, but usually you just wait a while. And now I'm gonna look, where do I want that yellow and where do I don't want the yellow. So I just clean it up a little bit at some spots. Here I do like it, but maybe slightly less. I can also wipe it in a little bit. So you see what happens? Here I'll take it away completely. First I must dry this layer again. Okay, now I repeat the process. Now I have mixed phthalo blue with the medium, and you see phthalo blue is a very strong pigment, by the way. It is transparent, but it is very strong, so you need very little of that pigment. And I'm gonna do the same just to create some visual effect. So you see now it gets a little bit more blue at some spots. And the previous layers are dry, So I can wipe this off whenever I like at the spots where I like to wipe it off again. So I'll just cover it, and then I'm gonna decide with my towel at which spots do I want to keep this color and at which spots do I want to remove it. So it's kind of, yeah, it's a very fun way to work, I must say. And now I'm building with color all the time, but we'll see. But you can also adjust values, of course, so I'll show that shortly as well. But you see, now we have that blue feel at some spots to it, so like this. And now again, I'm gonna make decisions. Where do I want it and where do I don't want it? So there we go. In the sky, I like it. Here in the background, I like it as well. In the lighter parts of the waves, I like it slightly less, so I'll just wipe it off the lighter parts a little bit. So now you see, but at some spots, but I do it a little bit, yeah, randomly and on purpose. And now you see, I leave it like this because this is fun. Now let's compare the two paintings, and you see the feel is totally different, and that effect is only caused by a few transparent layers. It's fun to do. Well, as said before, if you want to adjust contrast, you can do that as well, of course. Let's make the contrast a little bit higher here, just to show, of course. So the phthalo is already quite transparent pigment, so I'll add slightly of the glazing medium, but not too much, because this is quite transparent already. Just take a look, you see? So, and I can bring it in here, and then you see, and you can work locally as well, of course, as I'm doing now, so you don't have to do the whole painting as I did before every time, but you can add it like this as well, of course, at some spots. Yeah, you see, so that's also a possibility. And the other way around, of course, you can make things lighter as well. I just grabbed some titanium white. And titanium white is a very opaque color, so I have to be careful. So this is titanium white. I add a little bit of the medium. And again, I'm gonna check on my test strip. Okay, that's maybe a little bit too much medium, so I'll add more white. So it's a little bit more, yeah, now it covers more. So now I can go over some spots to lighten it up a little bit more, if I want. And I must say I don't like it that much, but yeah, I just have to show it, of course, for the video. I don't like it in this instant, in this painting, because I thought these different colors were fun. Well, it's not that bad either, so no, I don't think it's that big of a problem. At some spots a little bit white. Here maybe, you see, you can slightly alter the previous layers. So it has a nice layered feel to it. It's a very nice effect. And of course, you can also use a little bit of yellow in this mixture if you like. So like this, or orange, all is possible. Thanks for watching, see you next time.